Hey guys, how you doing? Hope you're keeping well. So the title of this video is the spiritual, I can't even actually remember, time-space continuum. So if we look at life, in our lives, we experience time. And time is simply just one moment to the next, one after the other. So in our minds, there's a lot of variables that exist within time, whether those variables exist within the past or the future. Us calculating what's happened in the past and what will happen in the future. And so basically, time is this intangible, conceptual, consciousness, reality, and idea. And I believe when we begin to see it that way, we begin to look at time differently. We're able to somehow see the past, present, and future as one emanative timeline. And when you look at enough numbers for long enough, you begin to see a pattern and sequencing through those numbers that exist throughout reality. And that patterning and sequencing creates our reality as it stands right now, all past variables leading to this current present configuration, which will determine future variables. So time can be explored through exploring your consciousness, because when you explore your consciousness, you're exploring time. You use your consciousness in order to analyze and observe time. So in order to explore it, you also need to use your consciousness as well. And so when we begin to open that box, we begin to see that somehow there's a lot of room for predetermination and destiny, considering that everything is so intangible in our minds, yet so divinely interconnected in ourselves and through our reality. I've been observing reality for a very long time, and what I've come to see is all roads lead to Rome, figuratively, of course. But every single variable in the whole entire world of the supposed time-space continuum matrix, and that's just a fancy word for this current, present, omnidirectional reality in which it is you happen to be experiencing through your omnidirectional formless consciousness, which somehow exists within form, within your mind. But the formlessness within your mind is not completely, totally contained within the form which is in your body. And so when we begin to look at space and time and form, we begin to see that it's all perceptual and conceptual. Because our consciousness is the operating force that requires every single aspect of reality to exist as it stands right now. So by that fact alone, you are deeply interconnected with your reality. And you're connected to reality in so many ways, more ways than you can imagine. And the way in which it is that you're exploring and experiencing this is through moving through emotions and memory, because emotions and memory determine how you perceive time, whether it be in the past or the future. Your emotions and memory complex, which makes up your mind and your personality, basically will end up creating what it is that you perceive within regards to time in the future or even time in the past. So you can see right then and there that your consciousness and focus is required in order to actually be able to interact and conceptualize with the idea of time as it stands in your mind. So when you realize that it's all because of your mind creating that space and time, and that every time you ever interact with the ideas of space and time, it's through your mind, you begin to realize that they don't actually exist. And so what happens when space and time don't exist? Well, then there's no separation. There's no separation between anything when space and time don't exist. There's the illusion and the perception and the experience of separation and distance. But that exists through this perception and reality of form, being in a body and looking at bodies. But each body has this formless mind, right? And each formless mind is not confined by the form of that body. It's just confined by your imagination and perception of certain things like time and space. So when you realize that Your perception's creating everything around you. Your consciousness awareness. If you didn't have your consciousness awareness, you wouldn't have this projective, emanative reality experience to experience. So, you begin to end up seeing that everything in that reason seems to show a pattern and order of having a singular source. Past, present, future. Triangle. It's such a strong shape. The strongest. Anyway, so the beauty is that when you look at through your existence and your being through the eyes of spirit, your mind, your consciousness, the formless nature of it, which is very indicative of what your spirit may be like, your mind, your imagination, right? Just the framework in which it is that you experience emotions, and therefore how those emotions determine how you experience reality. So when we take space and time away, well then, there's so many more possibilities. We begin to look at time and space completely differently, which is our object-oriented reality, our perception of it, how we relate to things and objects within our mind. So somehow there is time and space, and somehow there isn't time and space simultaneously. Please. Okay. So we can begin to realize that we begin to realize what's in our spirit and what it's capable of, and we remove the parameters of times and space from our experience of our spirit within our mind, of our existence, of our being. How does that existence and being exist? Is it just in a body? Are you just in your mind? Why does your mind have the ability to conceive all of these things beyond your mind? Is that indicative of anything within this reality? So somehow our emotions and our heart are heavily connected to our spirit and our sense and experience of time and space throughout this reality in which it is that we happen to exist in. If you're in lots of love and happiness, time will move by perfectly. If you're having lots of fun, move by really fast. If you're super bored, you move by slow. Your time is constantly changing based on the emotion which it is that you're experiencing. And in that reason, it's all relative. But somehow, even though we're relatively moving through time at different speeds in each other, we're actually at the exact same time. Each present moment that unifies everything and everyone. Just like the sun's light, just like this earth, and just like this reality matrix. Which is just reality, it's just life. But life exists on so many levels, and those levels in which it is that we can experience how it is that life exists. We look through our consciousness, our imagination, our spirit. These are these are things we overlook so much. We overlook these things so much. And how they affect our entire reality. So your reality changes based on the memories you have and how you look at them, and what new memories you look at. And you're constantly creating memories of the past and of the future. All the time. So we move through darker scenes in our life and times where we experienced our memory within that certain wavelength of energy. You know, those dark, grimy, somber memories in which it is you may have. And sometimes they pop up, and a lot of the reason is because of how we look at the future and how we look at right now. That's keeping certain things within us. Probably to teach us, like everything is. So the great thing we can learn is that we have the ability to create new experiences and feelings. And we move through a lifeline of transitory, emotional, and theme-based thematic states that are very reflective of how you felt at that current time and what that scene looked like. And so in a way, each moment in your life is a scene in a dream. Okay? And somehow it's always reflecting to you what you're feeling. And so we need to learn how to feel more than we do. Right? Because our feelings are beautiful. They're beautiful things that should not be overlooked or ignored. They're the most amazing thing that make us the divine beings that we are. Without them, we don't have the portal through imagination to experience greater and greater thematic scenes of this dream, which is your life. So when you're pouring into yourself and pouring into spirit, what you're doing is you're pouring into the light source of your reality, which is you. Okay? And that's when we can really use our imagination, our spirit, to look forward. And use our imagination to access beyond time and space imaginings and ideas of what the future will look like. And we can do that by feeling our way into it and having complete and total faith and trust. Mostly everything in our life has led us to having reasons to not have complete and total blind faith towards everything. People are always cautionary, understandably so, towards all aspects, choices and decisions of their life. But one thing that they do not take into deep consideration is this ability to completely tap into this level of divinity, of stillness, of purity, of interconnectedness, of not having time and space separate you from all that is and all that ever will be. And so when we can do this consciously and absorb these ideas and concepts, our brainwaves change, our neurological states change, our imaginative states change. We start augmenting and editing the frequency and vibrancy of these scenes that we're emanating throughout our core and reality. So there's some things we do not take into consideration, and that is, what would a life look like with extreme and total blind faith that becomes less and less blind the more and more it is that your faith is proven to you? What would a life look like that where the most amazing thing that was meant to happen and that will happen will happen? And all you got to do is trust in yourself and God. And so when you do that, you reconfigure your internal state, your internal structure of how you emanate this reality that you're consciously projecting throughout your entire life. And you are in the driving seat of determining which emotions it is that you happen to experience. So you need many good reasons to be able to feel many good things in order to emanate and vibrate very good things of very great vibrancies and light. Where we can get rid of fear, we can get rid of the darkness within our mind. And we can allow that vibrancy that already exists there within us to connect us to all the most amazing things we could ever happen to imagine that are usually affected by how it is that we're perceiving time and space and its relationship to time, past, present, and future. And so we use the past in order to evolve our current present state. You are an accumulation of every single thought you've ever had up until now in this time-space continuum matrix. And you are the sum of all the thoughts you've ever had, of anything you've ever experienced, of all the themes and moments and modes and memories in which it is you've ever experienced, all the things you've ever imagined. You're the accumulation of all of that. And things far beyond your wildest comprehension. Because to be able to experience reality is quite a magical and mystical thing. So therefore you must be quite a magical and mystical being. So what we need to do is get rid of fear in our mind. Fear in our life. And not have this time-space continuum get in the way of us being able to believe in more than we've ever allowed ourselves to believe in before. And as we do that, we change the themes and settings and modes within inside of ourselves, deep within inside of our spirits, deep within inside of our core. And therefore, on such a core, deep, fundamental level, we change our reality. We enrich our reality. We augment it. We're connected with the divine synchronization that exists within inside of ourselves. You see, when you're not fighting with yourself, you're not fighting with your life and the trajectory of your life and this current moment you're in right now, when you're not fighting with that, then there's nothing getting in the way in this current present moment of you being your complete and total true natural self, which is loving and pure and kind and happy and always deserving of kindness and protection. You see, these ideas that I'm speaking about, they're very high ideals, and for that reason, most people do not believe in them. But our whole reality is determined by our belief. So why are we choosing not to believe in such high ideals if our reality is determined by our belief? So your belief formulates your reality, guys. Your belief determines what you're going to experience in your dream. And somehow it's also magical, mystical, and divine that all you can do is just have faith and trust in that. And for so long we believed in this grim, limited idea and sense of reality because we just believe in what we've seen, believe in what we've expected, and believe in what we've experienced. We've been conditioned towards expecting things of the past to occur within the future. And for that reason, we limit our ability to dream ourselves into higher states of awareness, higher states of being, that bring us into absolute pure sympathy, harmony. Complete and total harmony with all reality. So somehow, even when things get a little bit scary and you don't know where things are going, you gotta just be able to learn to trust in that. You gotta have faith. Like the number one biggest thing that's gonna help you is having faith in yourself, faith in your life, and what helps you have faith in yourself and faith in your life is having faith in God. And I believe when you begin to do that, reality begins to become so much more vibrant and so much more light becomes present when you begin to realize that you have every single reason to feel happy and secure. And that there's absolutely no reason at all to have any fear. And when you can fully be able to get yourself to believe that and convince yourself to believe in that wholeheartedly, completely and totally, then you'll access that level of reality within inside of the modes and the themes within your heart, which will naturally project and reflect into your reality. So, will you dare to dream in being a fantasy and not a nightmare? Will you dare to dream in believing that absolutely everything's okay? Can you believe that? Do you have enough faith to believe that? If you were to say, God, do I have enough faith to believe right now that absolutely everything's okay and everything that's happening is supposed to be happening? I'm in the current exact moment in which it is that I'm supposed to be in, and that I'm leading towards where it is that I'll need to go. And therefore, I don't need to imagine such negative instances of what the future may potentially hold in its ability to potentially hurt me. We want to evolve beyond being hurt. Our past memories and past pains and past hurts, they are old memories that we're releasing, letting go of, and that do not define us. We're these divine, magical, supreme beings that are an accumulation of all of our modes and memories. We're emanating them, but they're existing and we're experiencing it through us. That's extremely special, and I think it's highly, highly taken for granted and overlooked. You know, I'm here to say that reality is super fantastical and super mystical. I promise you, it is. But you gotta have faith and trust in that. Faith and trust that you'll be able to safely and magically navigate this space-time continuum. Because the continuing moment is now, and there's so many nows, and we're made up of so many nows. So many nows that have led us to this current now, right now. With the accumulation of all of that. But the more and more it is that I happen to have looked at reality, the more and more it is that I've seen so much synchronicity and divinity throughout all aspects of reality, which have led me to believe that this is some sort of orgasmic, algorithmic pattern of reality existing through the mind and heart of God. The more and more I look at reality, the more and more I see how interconnected every single variable, information, idea, and memory is. Every person, place, and thing. How it all led towards one construction of one being, one self, in this current present moment. Think about it. Every single now moment that you ever had, you formulated who you are right now. And all you've been doing this whole time, shifting through now. Day and night, but always now. Now might be different, now's not where I'm at. But it's always the same somehow. As we're shifting through this conscious experience of reality, of moving through one moment now after the next. So what we need to do is we need to be more embracing it right now and more positively expectant towards the many nows in which it is that we'll happen to experience in the future. And I believe when you're able to do this, you're able to develop and create an unbelievably strong sense of faith within yourself. Having absolutely total faith in what's happening right now and now also will happen in the future. And I believe when you do that, you synchronize your brain, you synchronize your being with reality, divinity, the most beautiful outcome of the future. If you can feel it right now, you'll feel it in the future. So what we're doing is we're evolving our ability to feel and guide and control our feelings into the truth. And the truth is far more magical than you could imagine. There's so much more to right now and the many nows in the future that will occur and exist. Then we think, you see, all we see is what's happening right now. But once your mind gets free and explores every single aspect and reality, every dimension of presence and feeling, not being constricted by your form, and being able to then feel your form and spirit. We're able to do these things, we're able to experience new things you never experienced before. Once you experience them, it changes the way you look at things. And it leads to inevitably extremely positive outcome. Positive outcome guided and inspired by faith. Guided and inspired by faith. So that's what I'm here to do. Gain more faith, and to anyone that's willing to listen, help them gain faith too. So that they can realize that they can tap into their own divine programming, their own divine purpose, their own divine will, the will of God, the will of all. We're all interconnected. There's no time, there's no space. You watching this exists right here, right now. So does everything in anyone. So what are the implications of that? There being the projection and perception of time-space, but simultaneously there not being any space or time? What are the implications of that? Well, when we start to explore and discover that, we start to see the fundamental building blocks of reality. How does we happen to experience it? We're not only experiencing things within its time and space, we're experiencing things beyond time and space. At least to our current level and mode of perception as it currently stands now. So I have a lot of faith, and in having a lot of faith, I've found that I've been able to synchronize my mind and brain to eliminate all these compulsive fears in which it is that I happen to have within myself, and to eliminate each and every single fear that I can fathom within my mind. And how do you do that without extreme faith? How do you do that without extreme faith? How do you develop extreme fearlessness without extreme faith? You have to have faith. Without faith, you have nothing. Faith in yourself, faith in others, faith in your life, faith in God. Everything we do is depending upon how much faith it is that we have or don't have. Whether we're guided by fear or faith. So I choose no longer to be guided by fear. I choose to no longer fear time and space. Time and space are my friends. Because they do not connect. As I said, time and space are not my enemies, they're my friends. And when you realize that they do exist and they also don't exist, you realize how deeply interconnected you are with them. And therefore you don't fear time and space. When you realize it's just all one state and experience. So when we can look at visualization of energy, of how each form-based picture in our mind as this formless energy that creates it. We're able to start to see reality through an energetic lens. And therefore we're able to access more variables within our mind through feeling our way through them. Therefore being able to calculate, predict, and determine what it is that we can give ourselves permission to believe in or not believe in. Your whole reality is determined and dependent upon what you believe in. What you will experience, what you will encounter, is all determined by what you're believing. So the question is, what do you believe in, and what are the parameters around your belief? Are your beliefs held within a box, or are they outside of that box? You know? So I say get out of the box. Box has got too many limitations. Too many limiting variables. That box actually creates the parameters of fear that exist within our mind. Whichever box that they happen to be, that our beliefs may sit in. So let's remove the box. Blip, blip, blip. If you would like to experience formless, unlimited, infinite reality, which exists within every infinite moment that exists within your heart. So please release your fear. There's no need to be scared. Okay? The whole point of this is not to create fear. Although, life can be a little scary sometimes. But in order to get through those scares, we need to have more faith. It's that simple. And you'll never be disappointed. Ever. Never, ever. There's so much more than meets the eye. There's so much more that can be experienced. That is being experienced right now. So much. Wink, wink. So, I choose faith. I've lived in a lot of fear for a very long time. But I've come to realize that being alive now is a mere miracle. And it's required one miracle after the next in order to bring me to this current moment in time now. So I have every single reason to believe in the miraculous nature of reality. That helps me eliminate more and more fear. And when I release more and more fear, the space-time continuum matrix, whatever you want to call it, life, existence, becomes so much more freer and enjoyable. Because you're not stuck in a box, it's constricting you, unable to move. No, you want to feel free, you want to feel light. Okay? That's the aim and the goal, so you're evolving your consciousness towards greater and greater states of lightness, your most high states of mind and being. Now we access these high states is by removing all the fear that gets in the way of those high states. Because of our beliefs, of what we think reality is, and how we think it works. But the fact that you're watching this and I'm speaking this, and so forth and so on, shows that there's been nothing but miracles that have led to this point. You can use divine magic mathematics in order to see how much divinity is stored within every aspect of reality. The earth, nothing. It's all in your imagination, it's all in your mind. This whole reality is dependent upon your imagination and your mind. So, do you want your mind and your reality to be stifled by fear? Or do you want to free yourself? Get rid of the fear. How do you want to experience space-time? Constricted in a box. Go omnidirectionally present and free. Choose the free answer. way better. Okay? So, we're in a very unique and particular moment in time in history, this energetic space-time matrix. And things are getting quite magical and mystical. Only to those that are consciously observant of the many magical things and mysteries that happen to exist within your life and your reality. Are you observant? Are you paying attention yet? Hope you are. Because everything you do in this present moment will affect what will happen in the future moments. It's very good to be conscious of it. So life, I believe, the fact that I'm even conceptualizing and communicating these ideas shows that we are in an extremely explosive moment in history. And we sit at the forefront and precipice of what it is that shall occur. Get rid of fear. Get rid of fear. There's no need for it. Unless you have fear in the Lord, of course. Fear in the Lord's a good thing. Helps you get to where you need to go, where you need to be. Accepting His divine will upon your life. The question is, do you choose to live a boring and mundane reality or a magical and mystical one? What do you choose to believe in? Are your beliefs boring you, or are they setting you free? Which one is it? Because if they're boring you, then maybe you need better beliefs. If they're leading you to feel fearful and stifled, then maybe you need better beliefs. Life is magical and wonderful. You just have to learn how to see it that way. But how do you do that if you're stifled by fear? And fear preventing you from seeing how magical, wonderful, and mysterious things actually are. It's all in your imagination, it's all in your head, it's all in every single little box you place within your mind. Every single little box. Ticked. Or crossed out. So that's the end of this video. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you guys are keeping well. Thanks a lot, Patreon. See you guys soon and look out for more content. Bye-bye.